How are you? Welcome to Mystic Moons. Today we're going to talk about fatherhood. Fatherhood. Being a parent is strange because it takes you back. It takes you back to like different things. And we all have parents, right? I mean, you need a male and a female to be here on this earth. And sometimes when you have a child with someone, you don't particularly like the other person. And I mean, in this country, especially in the United States, sex, mating, birthing, conception has been disengaged from the act of having made the mating ritual. Mating is just fun, 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 and it should be fun. But there's not the tie-in of like starting a family and producing offspring. Now, but that's what's been happening many times, many decades already. And of course, as recently as the now, it's becoming less and less and less and less. The now being the last like 80 years, 70 years, 50 years, whatever, like that. Now, these children who are often called bastards or illegitimate or something, but they're still children. They're still children of a man and a woman. Now, Bill Clinton is a public figure, and he has long been trailed by his lots of things, lots of things, lots of things, lots of scandal, lots of this, lots of that. And one thing he has always been spoken about is about his son, his black son. His black son, Danny Williams. Now, he has always denied that that was his child. Now, Danny Williams is about 40 years old now. And he has always said, my mommy said that that was my daddy when he was governor. Remember, Bill Clinton used to be governor before he was president. And I think his mother's name was like Bobby Ann Williams. So that he has taken, of course, his mother's name. And he used to sometimes call himself Danny Williams Clinton. And they made a big stink of it. Daddy, why don't you say who I am? Now let's just, and I was always, they look alike. They have a lot of facial similarities. Sometimes it's hard to see when somebody has, different color, skin color, and, it's like a different race of person intermarrying or interbreeding. It's hard to like say for sure. You would think it's hard to say for sure. However, this man has spent his whole life, he's written a couple of books, and his name is, Danny Williams. And he just wants to say, can't you just give me a test, a DNA test to find out if he really, really is. And, he had one DNA test because when he was having that Monica Lewinsky affair she was an intern in his administration, his DNA was up for grabs. However, Danny Williams insisted when he did have that one test that it was rigged. Now we've heard now that doesn't seem far out, right? I mean, who would want their president to admit that he had a black son during 40 years ago or whatever Clinton was president, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever, not 50 years ago. I honestly, just count your fingers yourself. Go look it up. The point is he ever going to acknowledge the fact that he has a son? And the son is adamant. My dad is Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. Now, let's see. Will he ever be acknowledged? That's the question. I mean, you can feel for the young man, the middle-aged man, the person, the soul. I mean, You could think about someone who spent their whole life without a father. Now, many of us have not had groovy parents. Groovy, I use that sarcastically. That's the era that Bill Clinton was using that word, right? Now, we haven't had, some of us have not had nice parents. Some of us have had fabulous parents. But a lot of us had parents that were just as effed up as you can imagine. They were brutal. They were like all sorts of emotions that society brainwashed them to have. In fact, we can even say that Bill Clinton is not never rushed down to have a decent test with his son because it could be a racial thing. Oh. And of course, we all know that Bill Clinton stood on Jeffrey Epstein's mantle with a blue dress painted, and I guess it was a topic of like he. Now, it's hard to have he when you're dealing with somebody else's life, your child. Now, a lot of fathers they don't acknowledge the child because they want to still stick pins into their former lover's heart back. They like to get even. People like to get even. Well, they just don't like to be so admonished that they can be that way. That way. I would take care of my own. And men are not the men of old, and women are not the women of old. Women are no longer, it's almost as though sometimes the men are becoming like pansies and the women are becoming like pioneers, frontier people. And you could say that feminism has destroyed the role play, but wouldn't be. We're getting too far, too many, philosophical things because we're dealing with Bill Clinton, who was a sex machine for a lot of his times. I mean, he was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane for a lot of times. And I mean, it's again, something is up. Something is up. And yeah, we're talking about Danny ever being acknowledged that he had a father. Or you would think that somehow Hillary would want to know something positive or definitely negative. She would want to make sure. Or their child, Chelsea, do I have a brother out there? Now, you can say, oh, I don't care. But at least, why don't you sue? I asked the Clintons, why don't you sue Danny Williams and say, shut up? It's been going on for like his whole life, 40 years, 40 plus years of like, I am your child. And okay, so he has the biggest deadbeat dad is the 42nd president. The 42nd president. Now, I mean, do you think he'd want to clear that up between Epstein's release, which will happen soon, and the other things going on? He'd want to. So let's ask the heavens. Let's ask the cosmos. Will Bill Clinton, before he gets put in the grave or the oven, cremation, will he come clean to his son, or will one of his relatives want to set the record straight, post-mortem record straight, something. That Danny can finally say, yeah, well, I had my fantasy, he was my dad, and I see that he's not my dad, or something. Just why do we still have this pot boiling? Why do we still have this issue? Why? Isn't that weird that we still are talking all these years? And Trump is the 47th president, 47th president. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Clinton was the 42nd. That's 5 presidents ago. Can you even think back that long? But anyway, he is reported to have a black son. And a lot of people alleged. I have to use alleged because they still like that iffiness. Just like it's alleged that humans are the only life forms of intelligence in the entire universe. So, the same thing. In that vein of ridiculousness, we're going to go. Now, the first thing we get here is the moon. The moon. Hidden, feminine, pondering, uncertainty. Where will the information lead? Right? Strange. The moon. The moon. That sets it up quite well, doesn't it? Will Bill Clinton, is he guilty about? Does he feel a little twinge or something? That little tiny boy that came into this world thinks he's his daddy. Can't he at least say, "No, I'm not your daddy"? And then we have the son. Maybe. Wow, that's strong cards. It's almost as though Bill Clinton feels a bit of twinge of doubt and yes, that's the least I can do before I leave this earth is to tell that Danny Williams that he's not my kid or he is my kid. And I'm sorry I was such a schmuck. Or a heel. Or a deadbeat. The King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles. Do you see all this positivity? Do you see the lingering? I mean, how long can Bill Clinton live, right? Is he going to be 150 years? Does he have 80 more years to toy with the thought of coming clean or not coming clean? We have the Sun. We have the King of Pentacles. This is all Bill Clinton's energy, right? He's had a good life. And the Ace of Wands. Wow. Ace of Wands. Well, somebody is really in favor of setting the record straight. Setting the record straight. And let the pieces fall where they may. I mean, it can't get any worse with all the other things that have gone down. Right? The Ace of Wands, the King of Pentacles, the Sun, and the Moon. Well, I would think that a human being would definitely, before they departed the planet into the next phase of their soul existence, would acknowledge the fact for this Danny Williams that you are my son or you are not my son. And it looks like somebody in that camp, in the Clinton camp, has that kind of mindset. What do you think? What do you think? You probably didn't even, a lot of you probably didn't even know that Bill Clinton was alleged to have a black son, Danny Williams. He has a few books about his scared lifestyle. And this is for all the children who haven't had acknowledgement from their mothers or their fathers, the orphans, the ones in foster care, the ones that were abandoned. For all the people that have had broken hearts and used somebody else as a stepping stone or an ink pad. We're only here once on this earth. Let's make the best of it. Even if you believe in reincarnation, you should clean up your soul action. Or, if not, then what are you? Until the next time, if you have any comments, thank you for the likes. And it's a touchy subject, isn't it? Parenthood, being a parent, being a mother, being a father. And if you effed up, or you can also say you have dementia, you've lost your Fruit Loops, you lost your reasoning powers, and that's sad. But somebody, your caretakers or someone, should just try to clean up your act a little bit. But some of us don't learn, but we'll see. Thank you very much. Until the next time, bye-bye.